Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and you are very welcome to today's video where we are going to be picking my July TBR. So in June I let you guys pick my TBR by putting the books on my story and putting emojis and letting you blind pick my breeds, but this time, because I saw Sarah Crowley do it recently, if you're ever looking for inspiration for like different ways to pick your TBR, Sarah Crowley is honestly amazing for it. Half the ideas for my TBR I've gotten from her, so I will link her below. She is absolutely amazing. But today we are going to be letting 1-star reviews pick my TBR. I've uploaded them to my Instagram. They've been up for about 7 hours now, and I just picked a 1-star review for each book, put two against each other, and then you guys voted and it was in your hands. And I'm very interested to see how you guys voted, because some of the 1-star reviews I picked were definitely colourful in the way that they describe some of the books. So let's get right on into it. So the first ones that I put up on my story were No Questions at This Time was the top one, and then the bottom one was Aw Crackers. And the top one, saying No Questions at This Time, was Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. This is Carly Fortune's newest release. It came out in May. We are following friends George and Frankie in this story. It is the night before Frankie's wedding and she doesn't know if George is going to show up. She doesn't know where their friendship is kind of at. But then the morning of her wedding, the groom leaves her, but George is there and decides that they should go on the honeymoon that she had paid for. And they obviously have to confront a lot of stuff that has been going on in their friendship, considering that she didn't even think he was going to be at her wedding. So there's obviously some unresolved issues within their friendship that I hope that we get deeper understanding of. So that is our first choice. And then the second one was the Aw Crackers, and that was Taming 7, which I'm absolutely shocked at. I don't remember there being an Aw Crackers in Taming 7. This would obviously be a reread for me. I put it on there because I want to reread it this month, and it follows Gibbsy and Claire. It is the fifth book in the Boys of Tommen series, and yes, we're following Gibbsy and Claire. Gibbsy is this fun-loving character, but underneath he has this like deep stuff he's dealing with, and Claire is this ray of sunshine, and they've always loved each other but they've never been together, and it's them kind of navigating getting into the relationship. And then you're also getting the events going around with Core 10 at the time. And so these were the two that you guys were picking between in that one, and let's go and see now which one won. So the one that won is Aw Crackers, which is Taming 7 with 57%. So that is the first book that is going to be added to the TBR for the month. The second story I put up, and the 1-star reviews I used for this were Don't Do Drugs Kids was the first one, and the second one was Finally Finished This Shit Show. The one that is Don't Do Drugs Kids is Daisy Jones and the Six, and I don't think many people would have got that, to be honest, because obviously, yes, drugs are a huge part of the story. Again, this is actually another reread for me, which I've wanted to reread for ages, and I feel like Daisy Jones and the Six just gives summer vibes, and I'm hoping that if I reread it I can then watch the series again. If you don't know what this follows this band in LA, Daisy Jones and the Six. At the start of it, we're kind of following Daisy on her own journey, and then she meets the rest of the band, and then they form and become together, and there is just so much drama. It is told in an interview style way, and I've never read a book like that before, and the way it is done is spectacular because you're getting everyone's point of views while you're reading, but it's through an interview style, so you're getting it right one after the other. It's such an intriguing story. It talks about the fame in Los Angeles and what it does to you and what you do for fame and how it changes you and the struggles that people with that fame. And it gives very Fleetwood Mac vibes, I will say. And I absolutely loved it the first time I read it, and I'm due a reread. And then the one that was Finally Finished This Shit Show was 28 Summers by Ellen Hildebrand, because I've never read I have never read an Ellen Hildebrand book, and I really wanted to. So I got this in the charity shop, but I have no clue what this one's about. So we're just going to read the synopsis, and it says, their secret love affair has lasted for years, but this will be the summer that changes everything. When Mallory Blessing's son Link receives her deathbed instructions to call a number on a slip of paper in a desk drawer, he certainly does not expect Jack McLeod to answer. It's the late spring of 2020 and Jake's wife, Ursula de Guernsey, is the frontrunner in the upcoming presidential election. Link is sure there's been a mistake. How do Mallory and Jake know each other? Flashback to the summer of 1993. Mallory had just inherited a beachfront cottage on Nantucket from her aunt, and she agrees to host her brother Cooper's bachelor party. Cooper's college friend Jake McLeod attends, and Jake and Mallory form a bond that will persevere through marriage, children, and Ursula's stratospheric political rise, until Mallory learns she's dying. Inspired by the film Same Time Next Year, 28 Summers is an unforgettable story of an unconventional love that knows only one season. Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting, and it would be good to add on as a summer read, I guess, but let's see which one won. So, the one that won this one with a whopping 62% was Daisy Jones and the Six. And you know what? Can't complain because it's a reread and I already know I love it, so I know it's going to be a great fun time. So far we have 2 rereads up on the TBR, which is absolutely crazy. We need to get some newness up in here. So let's move on to the next one. The next story I put up, so the first Goodreads 1-star review, was describing the acne on someone's cleavage as cute pink wafer crumbs is where I draw the line. And then the second one was I thought we left purple-eyed manic pixie dream girls in 2012. So the top one was The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley. And again, I know nothing about this one, so we're just going to read the synopsis. In the near future, a disaffected civil servant is offered a lucrative job in a mysterious new government ministry. Her role is to work as a bridge, living with, assisting and monitoring the expat known as 1847 Commander Graham Gore. As far as history is concerned, Commander Gore died on Sir John Franklin's doomed expedition to the Arctic, so he's a little disorientated to find himself alive and surrounded by outlandish concepts such as washing machines, Spotify, and the collapse of the British Empire. During a long sultry summer, he and his bridge move from awkwardness to genuine friendship to something more, but as the true shape of the project that has brought them together begins to emerge, Gore and the bridge are forced to confront their past choices and imagined futures. Can love triumph over the structures and histories that have shaped them? And how do you defy history when history is living in your house? Very interesting. And Emily Henry has blurbed this, and she says electric, charming. I loved every second, and I really, really like Emily Henry's writing, so if she likes this, I'm hoping I will too. And then the one that says I thought we left I keep getting it wrong. I thought we left purple-eyed manic pixie dream girls in 2012, and that is a wild card by Elsie Silver. This is the 4th and final book in the Rose Hill Ranch series. This is following Bash and Gwen, and Bash is Gwen's ex-boyfriend's dad. And I don't know how we feel about that trope. I don't know, like, you were literally with his son. I don't know. Does it sit right with me? But Elsie Silver has a history of doing tropes that I generally do not like and doing them really well, and then I end up enjoying them. So maybe this will be one that I end up enjoying. So let's go and see which one won. So with a whopping 57%, The Ministry of Time has been added to the TBR. And do you know what, to be honest, I'm kind of happy this is added because it's one that I haven't read before, and also because it's different to the other books that I'm reading so far. It has that sci-fi fantasy feel, and I feel like for a long time now I've been reading just so many romance books because there's been so many adaptations coming out. I feel like I'm just having to read them all. But with this, at least it's different. There's a bit of a different storyline. Yes, there may be an underlying bit of romance in there, I feel, but the overall encroaching trope isn't romance. So that is the 3rd book on the TBR. The 4th story, the first 1-star review is If I Have to Read Another Crooked Smile Again, I'm Going to Die. And then the bottom one was Too Many Woke Themes Plugged in all through the book. So the top one, that is If I read about another crooked smile again, I'm going to die. That is Beach Read by Emily Henry. Again, another reread. This follows Gus and January. January's going through a lot of grief and has basically had to go to sort out her dad's lake house after he passes, and lo and behold, her next door neighbour is Augustus Everett, her absolute rival, and they're both there writing their novels at the same time, but they're both struggling with writer's block. So they come up with this idea that they basically will swap tropes to try and see who can write the better of the opposite trope, and then hopefully get themselves out of a slump through that. And this book is one of the most beautiful stories I've ever read, and looking back on it I feel like I didn't appreciate it enough the first time I read it, so that's why I really want to go back and reread it and annotate it. So fingers crossed this might get on the TBR. But the second one on the list, and I am very, very excited about this one, and it was the quote, "Too many woke themes plugged in all through the book," and that is A Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand. I really wanted to add as many of her books on as I could because I feel like she is a summer author, and all her books seem to be set in Nantucket is what I'm gathering. But again, I do not know what this one is about, so we're going to read the synopsis. So, escape to the Hotel Nantucket for a summer of sunshine, secrets and scandal. Reading from a bad breakup, Lisbeth Keaton is desperately seeking a fresh start when she's named the new manager of the Hotel Nantucket, a faded gem of a resort. She's determined to transform the hotel's fortunes and her own. All she needs to do is win over this new billionaire owner from London, Xavier Darling, and an Instagram influencer, Shelley, who can help put them back on the map. But with the hotel still haunted by a 1920s scandal, secrets among the staff, and Lisbeth's own romantic troubles, only one thing is certain: there's going to be trouble in paradise. Very interesting premise. I would not be upset if this was on the TBR, to be honest. But if it isn't on this one's TBR, I do have to get it at some point because I've had it now. I think I've had it 2 years. And if I don't read it in the summer, obviously I'm not going to end up reading it any other time of the year because I feel like her books really are summer based. So if it's not on the TBR for this month, that's fine, but I will have to get to it before the end of the summer this year. So the one that won between these two, and this one is probably the most stark comparison. We have a 25% to 75% ratio, and with 75%, Beach Read won, and I'm so happy. But this just seems to be turning into a load of rereads this month because this is now the third reread we have. But again, it's a summer book that I wanted to get to, so I'm so happy this is on the TBR. I'm so happy. Thank you, Instagram. Thank you, all of my followers. And then last but certainly not least, these two are okay. The top one, Two Horny Adults Who Can't Communicate, is the first one star review, and then the bottom one is Did the Pandemic Write This? Now, in saying this, I don't know how I feel about pandemics being brought up in books, but look, we'll go into each book and then we'll talk about who won, and if it ends up being this one, hey ho. So the top one saying Two Horny Adults Who Can't Communicate is The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. I really want to read this because, again, Sarah Crowley recommended it. I feel like every video, all I do is talk about Sarah Crowley and how she recommends things to me. But she recommended this book in one of her videos. It's one of her favourite reads. And it's basically two exes. They are thrust back into being around each other because their best friend's wedding is basically falling apart and they need to fix it. And it just gives summer. Look at this. It gives summer. So I'd be very happy to read this month. But again, if I don't get to it this month, I do have to read it this summer because I feel like there's no other time in the year that I could read this other than the summer. Maybe spring. But yeah, we'll go on to the next one. And then the next one was The Wedding People by Alison Espach. I didn't know this was set in more present time where, obviously, as I said, did the pandemic write this? I don't know how I feel about the pandemic being spoken about in books. I'm still getting quite triggered when I hear the pandemic. Like if I hear it in a TV show, I immediately have to turn the TV show off. So I don't know. If it's not a big deal in the story, then I think it'll be okay. But as I looked through the 1-star Goodreads reviews, so many of them referenced the pandemic. So I'm wondering, is it a big subject? But basically, we have our main character who is going to this hotel. And then when she arrives, is it a hotel in Rhode Island? Yeah, a hotel in Rhode Island. And when she arrives, the whole hotel is booked out for a wedding party and she's the only one there that is not part of the wedding party. But her plan to go there is to unalive herself. And I'm interested to see how it ends up. Like, I'm assuming she ends up meeting the wedding party and becoming friends with them. But these are the two that we have to choose between. Personally, I would really prefer this one, but let's see which one won. So, with 62%, the last book being added to the TBR for July is The Wedding People by Alison Espach. Now, in saying this, if I go into this and it does talk about the pandemic too much, I may switch to The X-Files, but I am willing to give it a fair chance because Maria read it in a 24-hour readathon recently and she really, really enjoyed it. And I just want to try it. And I just think it gives the summer also because, like, they're on the beach, the champagne and stuff. And I just feel like a beachside hotel in Rhode Island just gives summer vibes. So, these are the 5 books on the TBR for July that you guys picked. I think you did a very good job, to be honest. We have a lot of rereads, plus 2 new books I'm very, very excited to get to. Let me know what you plan to read in July, and I'll talk